Palestinians expect the truce to be fulfilled, therefore they denounce the Israeli bombardment of Gaza in the midst of the ceasefire celebrations. Venezuelan Attorney General Tarek William Saab sent an open letter to Colombian President Gustavo Petro on Thursday in response to Petro's latest statements in social media about the Venezuelan situation. The United States National Weather Service issued an alert over high winds that could hinder the fire mitigating efforts in areas of California. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. Palestinians expect the truce to be fulfilled, which is why they denounced the Israeli bombardment of Gaza in the midst of the ceasefire celebrations. Hours after the ceasefire announcement, Palestinians claimed that Israeli forces intensified their incursions and attacks on central and southern Gaza. The civil Gazan defense reported having recovered at least 73 corpses due to strikes of Israeli fighter planes on Wednesday evening. Moreover, the entity specified that the death toll comprised around 20 children and 25 women. Regarding the ceasefire agreement, authorities unfolded it is planned to be pursued in stages for 6 weeks, which will be enforced as of Sunday, January 19th. Among the fundamental issues agreed were the gradual withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza and the release of hostages by Hamas resistance movement.
If Allah wants, this truce will be good for us, in spite of the wounds, in spite of the pain, in spite of the dead and the wounded, and those who were isolated. We thank Allah. We wish safety for our people in the south and that we can see them, take care of them and meet with them, despite the pain in the houses that were destroyed. But, if Allah wants, it will end well.
We had hoped that the ceasefire would coincide with the cessation of the Zionist attacks that are still underway. Shall we wait until next Sunday? Hundreds of people will die. Yesterday, there was a strike on Jabalia and Khan Yunis, so we were hoping from the mediator brothers, the Hamas brothers and all the responsible to get a general truce and an immediate ceasefire for the sake of the Palestinian people, for safeguarding what is left of the blood of the Palestinian people.
On Thursday, in the Palestinian city of Ramallah, hundreds of students from Bisret University protested to denounce the continuous attacks on Gaza and the crimes in the West Bank. The demonstrators demanded an immediate end to the attacks on Gaza while raising the Palestinian flag. In addition, the protesters displayed posters and photos denouncing the genocide perpetrated by Israel against the Palestinians and the territory. Moreover, the students called for an immediate halt to the incursions and bombardments that they have left thousands of martyrs, mostly women, children, and the elderly. Demonstrators rallied Thursday in the French capital Paris in favor of Palestine and called for a boycott against Israel athletes participating in a basketball game. The protest was held at the Porte de la Chapelle and was organized by pro-Palestinian groups such as Urgence Palestine and Extinction Rebellion. The demonstrators opposed what they term sport washing, or the use of sports events to normalize or improve the international image of the State of Israel. They carried placards with slogans like we don't play with genocide, and called to cancel the match as a symbolic rejection of normalization with Israel. The basketball match was between the Paris Basket and the Maccabi Tel Aviv. Yemen's armed forces welcomed the announcement of agreement between Hamas and Israel on ceasefire in Gaza. The advisor to the Supreme Political Council, Abdul Ilah Hajjar, expressed that the group is proud and honored by the steadfastness of the support to the Palestinian people. In this sense, Ilah Hajjar reiterated the support to Palestine until the end of the Israeli genocidal war against the nation. The high official assured that they will fulfill their promise to stop the offensive against the Tel Aviv regime once the Israeli aggressions against Gaza cease. China joins nations welcoming the news of the ceasefire agreement in the Gaza Strip. The nation's spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Wo Yakun, expressed the Asian giant's views in the following way.
China welcomes the agreement on the Gaza ceasefire and hostage swap, and it hopes that the agreement can be effectively implemented so that a comprehensive and permanent ceasefire in Gaza can be achieved soon.
The spokesperson further emphasized that China will make efforts to continue providing humanitarian aid and supporting the reconstruction of Palestine.
Since the onset of the current round of the conflict in Gaza, China has always called for a ceasefire, de-escalation of the situation, protection of civilians, and humanitarian assistance. China supports the implementation of the ceasefire agreement, and it will continue providing humanitarian assistance to Gaza. In addition, China will make positive efforts in the post-war reconstruction in Gaza.
And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates and more. We'll be right back, stay with us. Welcome back from the South. Venezuelan Attorney General William Saab sent an open letter to Colombian President Gustavo Petro on Thursday in response to Petro's latest statements in social media about Venezuela. In his letter, William Saab expressed his surprise for the Colombian president's remarks and contrasted them with the emancipation ideals for the great homeland that both had shared in the past. The Attorney General also reminded Petro that it was from Colombian territory that mercenaries trained and hired by a foreign company infiltrated into Venezuela to unleash a bloodbath in full view of the Colombian authorities, and that to this day not a single person has been detained for those acts. On the other hand, the Venezuelan official let the Colombian president know that more than 1,500 people detained during the violent actions that followed the July 28th elections have been released, and that the prosecutor's office continues to review all the cases in order to provide the benefits of the law to those who are entitled to them. Finally, William Saab reiterated that Venezuela has defended democracy, stability and internal peace in an exemplary manner with full respect for constitutional warranties and human rights. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum responded to statements made by U.S. Senator Marco Rubio in which he insisted that drug cartels should be considered terrorists. The head of state pointed out that declaring drug trafficking organizations as terrorist groups implies many things, and she said that she would only consider the good side of Rubio's statements. In this sense, Sheinbaum welcomed the intentions that, according to politicians, the U.S. State Department has to coordinate alliances with Mexico for the benefit of both nations on security issues. In this context, Sheinbaum pointed out that these same proposals are the ones that the Mexican government has been putting forward and described them as good.
I take Marco Rubio's word for it. In this interview he gave during his ratification in the Senate, he says two very important things, which is what we have been saying. One is that the Department of State favors coordination with the Mexican government, and that is what we have been talking about, and to address the problems of migration, the problems of security, the drug trafficking. Que para atender problemas de migración, problemas de seguridad, de narcotráfico, lo mejor es la coordinación al más alto. The best thing to do is to coordinate with the Mexican government, as well as to coordinate at the highest level, and respecting our sovereignty we can collaborate and coordinate to reduce the criminal incidents in Mexico. La incidencia delictiva en México, para evitar el paso de armas de to avoid the trafficking of weapons from the United States to Mexico, and at the same time we can contribute in everything necessary to reduce the fentanyl crisis they are facing in the United States.
Likewise, the Mexican head of state described the statements made by Senator Marco Rubio regarding coordination with Donald Trump's administration as positive.
That was a very good thing in his statement, that the State Department would seek coordination with the Mexican government. That is exactly what we have been proposing. So this is good news in the sense that as soon as President Trump takes office with his team, there will be an opportunity for this high-level conversation that is so important to take place.
Social organizations in Argentina participated in a caravan through the capital, Buenos Aires, to demand the release of indigenous leader Milagros Sala from the Tupac Amaru Association, who has been detained for 9 years. This way, the organizations, joined by human rights activists, marched in a caravan for freedom to demand an end to the harassment, judicial and political persecution against the social leader. The mobilization took over the city's main avenues on its journey from the Congress Square to Sala's home, where she has been held under house arrest since January 2016. The leader's detention for alleged incitement to violence happened after she led a proposal against changes imposed by former Jujuy Province Governor Gerardo Morales.
Our political prisoner, the first political prisoner of the Macri government, who began her ordeal at that time and who continues today serving 9 years. It is an abuse because it is an attack on the essential rights of any human being. After all, they have created a rotten justice system, a rotten judiciary and political power that has abandoned her and condemned her for being a woman, for being an indigenous woman, and for being a popular military woman.
To try to pay tribute to an exceptional social leader like Milagros Sala, who I believe was enduring the repression of a system for being an indigenous woman, for being a woman, for being poor, and also for having stood out as an important personality.
Ecuador's Vice President Veronica Abad has questioned the armed forces' support for President Daniel Noboa during the electoral process. The official pointed out that the public force should defend the Constitution of the Republic and not a person. This after the military institutions were in favor of Noboa. She also denounced that the electoral process of February 9th could be jeopardized by the judiciary and the armed forces. Meanwhile, the Central Bank of Ecuador reported that the national economy contracted by more than 1.5% in the third quarter of 2024 compared to 2023. The financial entity detailed in its report that the interannual contractions of the components of expenditure, such as the formation of fixed capital, is in 6.2%. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Find a short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. The United States National Weather Service issued an alert over high winds that could hinder the fire mitigating efforts in areas of California. The Meteorological Authority forecasted winds could reach up to 100 kilometers per hour in the mountain regions of the counties of Los Angeles and Ventura. At the same time, and in spite of firefighters' efforts, the wildfires continue raging in Eaton and the Palisades, where they have left at least 25 people dead and 26 missing, in addition to burning down over 120,000 structures and more than 16,000 hectares. In this context, the Los Angeles County has declared a public health emergency, warning the population of the potential threat of smoke inhalation. The Belarus Security Council denounces the possible mobilization of foreign intelligence services ahead of the elections on January 26th. The entity noted that there are reports that foreign special services are probing the territory in search of flashpoints and detonators to carry out provocations to destabilize the situation in the country. The Security Council also condemned that the United States and its allies continue their strategies of legal, political, and economic pressure with the aim of changing the current government and breaking the alliance with the nation of Russia. In South Africa, police announced the end of the rescue operation of the Buffelsfontein illegal gold mine in which 78 people were killed. The commissioner in charge stated that the extractions from the mine are complete. However, authorities will conduct a further subway sweep to ensure that no one else is inside the mine. Of the 246 people found alive, 128 are Mozambicans, 80 from Lesotho, 33 are Zimbabweans, and 5 are South Africans.
But for now, we can confirm that the cage of the mine rescue services has gone down to ascertain whether what the volunteers told us yesterday is indeed true, that there are no longer any illegal miners down there.
While President-elect of Mozambique, Daniel Chapo, was holding his swearing-in ceremony in Maputo, regional riots have bursted out against him, which claim around 8 civilian lives in Maputo and Nampula northern cities. In recent presidential elections, the candidate of the Liberation Front of Mozambique won, as he obtained 65.17% of ballots. As a result, the opposition took to the streets of the capital to rally against the president in an attempt to sabotage his swearing-in act. However, the police prevented these opponents from reaching the official event. The island of Vanuatu is holding early elections a month after a devastating earthquake struck the South Pacific nation. Local television footage showed queues of voters in the capital, Port Vila, on Thursday, although many are expected to be unable to vote because they have been displaced by the quake, which killed at least 14 people, injured some 210, and displaced thousands. In northern Thailand, engineer and farmer Tania Pong Jak Yam, alongside villagers, paid homage to local victims of lately flash floods by turning a 2-acre paddy field into an artwork outlining several symbolic animals. The initiative came to fruition to bring local ties, hope, and resilience by drawing on the fields a red dragon, cats, and dogs. In September 2024, villagers have faced devastating floods from which they are recovering nowadays. Therefore, the creator, along with 20 other people, came up with this action to boost agricultural production, harnessing AI technology, satellite imagery, and agricultural techniques.
The rice we grow is cow sapazi, that is rainbow rice, which has 7 colors that together create this colorful artwork that we can see now.
We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok as well. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.